My highest earning client had just 6,000 followers and was doing over 120,000 US dollars a month, whilst I had another client who came to me with 45,000 followers and was earning just 8,000 US dollars a month. The point I'm trying to make is that follower count is irrelevant. What matters most is how qualified your audience is and how well you nurture them. So in today's video, I'm gonna walk you through exactly how to build an audience of qualified buyers, not just followers, using the framework that compresses the amount of trust your audience has for you from months into weeks. So in this video, we're gonna be covering 5 steps of the framework. Number 1 is the number that actually matters. Number 2 is the 2 audiences that you need to be targeting in order to build this audience. Number 3 is how to niche down by problem, not person, to get your ideal ICP. Number 4 is how to reverse engineer your buyer, so you can actually work from real buyer data, not guesses, and go after more of them. And number 5 is the 4 trust stages you need in order to build trust with your audience. So in section 1, I'm going to show you the number that actually matters and the number that you actually want to be tracking for your audience. Now, the core problem that I see with 99% of coaches, consultants, and agency owners is that they're measuring the wrong thing, okay? So what most people track is their follower count, how many impressions and reach they're getting, how many likes and comments they get, the total audience size. But the problem with this is that none of it actually predicts revenue. It's quietly killing your growth by measuring this, okay? The only metric that actually matters is what percentage of your audience is actually your ICP or could turn into your ICP. And that single number determines whether you're building a business or just a following that never earned you any money. Okay, so the point I'm trying to make here is stop optimizing your content for reach and start optimizing it for qualification, which is obviously exactly what I'm going to be showing you how to do in this video. So let me give you 2 scenarios to help you understand this a little bit more. Imagine that there was scenario A. We had someone who had 50,000 followers and they were tracking the wrong metric, right? They were just tracking how many followers they got, how many impressions and reach and likes and comments they got, right? Although they may have 50,000 followers, if those followers are people that will never ever buy from them because they have a low qualification, they're never going to earn the amount of revenue that they actually want to be earning within their business. Whereas if we have scenario B, where the person has just 5,000 followers, but they're tracking the right metric, e.g. what percentage of their audience is actually the ICP. If those 5,000 followers trust that person enough to send them money without even a sales call, the composition of that audience is going to beat the size of the audience every single time, and therefore this person will earn more money, the person with less followers but a higher percentage of ICPs. The difference is not the size, it's the composition and the percentage of them that are actually the ICP. But obviously there's a caveat to this. I can sit here and tell you this all day. And knowing that you need the right people is one thing. Knowing how to actually find them and keep them is another, which obviously I'll jump onto right now. But before I do, if you want a free strategy breakdown and you want to see exactly how I build LinkedIn/YouTube channels that generate inbound sales calls for my clients, there's a free strategy breakdown in the description. Click it below. So now I'm going to move on to section 2, which is called 2 audiences, 1 funnel. And I'm basically going to be showing you the 2 distinct people that you're going to be creating content for. Now, the mistake that most people make is that they don't even realize there's 2 audiences that they should be targeting. And so they kind of collapse these 2 audiences into one without knowing, and then wonder why either their content are getting loads of reach, loads of likes, loads of comments, but no buyers, or they're getting no reach at all and therefore no buyers either. The thing that I want to teach you is that there's actually 2 audiences that you should be targeting, okay? So the first audience is obviously your ICP, which is the person who's actually going to end up buying from you. And this is the person who actually buys because they look at your content and they can see that you know how to solve their specific problems. They have the budget and the readiness to actually buy from you, okay? And so the way you target this person is by going super narrow and deep in your content. You talk exactly to their pains, their fears, their desires, their limiting beliefs, okay? Again, in the hooks, you may name their exact pain, speak to their precise situation. Now, the problem with targeting just your ICP in your content is that it's a very small bubble, okay? And content built only for your ICP is going to get ignored by everyone else who could also potentially become a client one day. So the ICP is the customer that you convert. It's not the person that you want to be attracting in order to build your audience, okay? The person that you want to be targeting in order to build your audience of qualified buyers is something I call the dream follower. Now, this is your wider audience, and this can be people who relate to your story, they admire what you've built, they aspire to be where you are, and so they may watch, engage, and share your content and basically signal to LinkedIn and YouTube that your content is good. You may be wondering, okay, that's great, but you just said to ignore engagement, likes, and comments, and I did. But when you try and target your dream follower instead of your ICP, because you're attracting much more people, your ICP actually lives inside of this wider audience, okay? And you can't reach the buyer without first earning this crowd's attention. So this should be the audience that you want to build. So here's what the funnel structure would look like with your content when you're targeting both the dream follower and the ICP. So your top of funnel content, you'd be hooking with identity, your character and curiosity. So for example, in my case, I'd say I'm 21 and I run a 45K a month consulting business, okay? Because this is gonna earn the wide reach. And this content is aimed at my dream follower. Now, once I've attracted those dream followers and I've attracted that large audience, now I go into the middle of funnel and bottom of funnel content. So in my middle of funnel, I'm talking about mechanisms, whether it's proof, client results, I talk about a framework on a specific problem that I solve, and the funnel is narrowing here, okay? The ICP reads my middle of funnel content and identifies themselves. So the dream follower probably won't even read this, but the ICP will when they can see that I now solved their problem. And obviously in the bottom of funnel content is where I actually convert them, because the revenue happens at the bottom, whether it's a CTA post or a case study with a CTA as well, okay? So there's two traps that most people fall into, and I'm gonna show you how to fix it as well. The single most common trap that I see is people lead only with ICP content. Okay, so they talk about step-by-step frameworks, they give away a ton of value for free, or they only talk to their ICP's pains, fears, desires. And the problem with this is that your reach is going to completely collapse, and therefore your algorithm is going to stop distributing your content, and you're also going to look identical to every other specialist who's also just giving away free value, okay? And you're going to get views with no revenue, because you're replaceable by AI. There's nothing personal about you in your content, which means anyone can put out the same pieces of content. Now, the second biggest problem that I see people make is that they lead only with dream follower content, okay? And so in this stage, your reach may widen, but people never know that you're a specialist and can actually help them. So if you look at people who are getting a ton of followers, a ton of engagement on their content, you'll often see that they're just talking about themselves, or they talk about their journey, and they get a ton of reach, but people never really know what they can actually help them with. And so they build a massive audience and again, never earn the amount of revenue that they want. So the fix is to cast the net wide first and then narrow your content down second, okay? So your top of funnel content should have hooks built around identity pools that pulls in the whole crowd. Your ICP is then going to be in that crowd, and then in your middle of funnel and bottom of funnel content, you funnel the ICP down into the mechanism and into your proof content. Okay, so a little hook rule that you can use to try and attract more of those qualified dream followers is a hook built around your speciality repels everyone outside the bubble. So if you talk about, here's how to solve this problem, here's how to lose weight, here's how to make 10K a month, blah, 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 everyone who's outside of that bubble won't see the post. But a hook built around you, your identity, your values, pulls in the whole crowd, and your ICP and buyers are going to be in that crowd. So if I then talk about, I'm 21 and I make 45K a month, yes, I may attract a load of unqualified people who will probably never buy from me, but because I get so much reach, my ICP and buyers are also going to be seeing that post, even more so than if I just wrote about a free value post, okay? So if you get only the first right, you're going to be popular but broke. If you get only the second right, you're going to be invisible, okay? You need to be doing both in order to build that qualified audience and then convert them. So section 3, I'm going to be showing you how to niche your ICP/dream follower down by problem, not demographics and the type of person you want to be targeting, okay? Because this mistake is costing you half of your addressable market, and you're losing out on clients if you haven't already done this. Because when you niche down by label, or, you know, for example, job title, location, gender, whatever it is, which is a mistake I see a lot of people doing, they kind of do it for the sake of it without ever realizing why they've done it. So for example, let's say that there was a fitness coach who was targeting men in corporate jobs lose weight. If that was their messaging, it would tell every single founder who has the same struggle that your content isn't for them. It would also tell people in different boxes, and you're also going to be cutting out other people because people in different boxes can have the exact same pains and desires. So when you niche down by label, it actually makes you more invisible, not more relevant to your ICP. And it's going to cut off qualified leads who have the problem, the budget, and the readiness to act. But because your messaging isn't resonating with them as well, you're now cutting them off. Okay, so when you niche down by problem, instead of job title, gender, blah, 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 you may end up with something like this, which says, I help people who struggle to find time to work out, okay? Now, the corporate employee resonates, which is the person you're trying to target before anyway. The founder working 80-hour weeks resonates. And so now you're targeting the same pain with a broader label, and you're attracting more qualified people into your audience, okay? So when you target by pains, fears, and desires, rather than job title, location, gender, etc., you actually reach a lot more people who could potentially buy from you, okay? Because people in completely different boxes can have the exact same pains, fears, and desires you help with. And so if you're struggling to attract enough people, maybe you've niched down too much and your niche is the problem, not the person's job title or location, for example. So now you're probably wondering, how do I find out my ICP's exact pains, fears, and desires to niche down by that? And I'm going to be moving on to that right now. So in section 4, I'm going to show you how to reverse engineer your buyer to build your ideal client profile. And I'm going to show you how to define your ICP without guessing. So you can actually work from real data and know that the ICP that you've created is the perfect one. Because most people sit down and just imagine who their ideal client would be. They go, right, I want to target men in corporate jobs who are maybe making between 20 and 50K a month, because that's what they think their ICP is. Whereas I did the complete opposite. I looked at everyone who had already bought from me, who'd already got the best results from me, and I thought, how do I get more of those people in? And so I looked at the sales call transcripts, the onboarding call transcripts, and I also looked at this onboarding form, which I sent to all of my clients. And it's probably the most important data tool that I've ever put into my business. So every single time someone signs up with me, they get an onboarding form, right? Before they get into the details about them, their business, and their bottlenecks, I make them answer a few questions which allow me to understand their entire journey from first seeing me to actually buying from me. And so I'm asking, what is the first piece of content you saw from me? What made you take me seriously? What actually pushed you to book in a call with me? How long did you follow me before actually buying? What hesitations did you have on the sales call with me? And why did you choose me over every other coach and consultant on the market, right? I also ask a few more questions, but these are the main ones, okay? I'm not trying to collect a testimonial here. I'm reverse engineering the buyer. Because if I know exactly what first piece of content they saw, I can create more of that to attract more of those people. If I know what made them take me seriously, what pushed them to book, I know to create more of that as well. If I know what hesitations they had, I can also start tackling those hesitations in my content to remove their limiting beliefs and objections before they ever get on the sales call. And if I also can see how long they followed me before buying, I can track that to try and minimize it as much as possible. And so before I implemented this form and didn't really know why people were buying from me, it usually took around 10 to 24 months for someone to first see me to actually book in a sales call and buy from me. Whereas after I implemented the form and fully understood how to make more of those people buy from me, the average time from the first touch to actually booking and buying from me was just a few weeks. And that's because the trust compressed dramatically. I was just building trust with people way easier because I knew exactly how to do it. Okay, so if you don't have the form yet, right, or you haven't been doing the form for the last few months, which I imagine you haven't, you can do two things. One, you can go back and send those questions to all your existing clients, but it may be a little bit outdated or they may have forgotten. So two, you can do this right now. So step one, pull up all your sales call transcripts and all of the onboarding recordings from your top 3 to 5 clients, right? The people that you've enjoyed working with the most, the people that got the best results from you, etc. Okay. Now, step two, copy and paste it into Claude or ChatGPT, I prefer Claude, and ask it to extract the exact words and phrases that they use to describe their pains, fears, desires. Step 3, say to it, I don't want you to summarize it, tell me the exact language, words, phrases that they use to talk about their problems, their fears, their desires, etc. Okay? You want their raw, unfiltered words. And in step 4, now you know what pain, fears, desires they have in their exact words, and you're working from data, you can now write about that in your content to attract more of those people and also show them that you're the expert they need. Okay, and a little key insight for you. The first piece of content that gets someone into your world is not the same piece of content that actually gets them to buy. Reverse engineering your buyer will show you both and everything in between. So by asking these questions, you can figure out exactly what content you need to create more of to attract more of those people, and what content you need to create more of to convert those people. Now, once you've solved this, getting the right people watching you and trusting you is not going to be your problem anymore. Keeping them actually believing you is. And that's why I'm moving on to section 5, which is the 4 trust stages that you need in order to build a personal brand that people actually want to buy from, okay? Now, one thing I want you to make sure of is that you're building these in order, because if you skip one and you skip straight to step 3 and 4, which is what most people unknowingly do, the whole thing is not going to work. So there's 4 stages that you need in your personal brand to get people to buy from you. Stage 1 is to be admirable. It's what's going to earn your attention. Stage 2 is to be likable. It's what will actually keep people around. Step 3 is to be credible. This is how you're going to prove that you can actually deliver to your clients. And step 4 is being trustable. This is where the money is made, as long as you've done steps 1, 2, and 3. Now, most people skip straight to step 3, right? They skip straight to being credible and trustable without being admirable or likable. And so they only ever post their results, their client outcomes. They post their free value and their frameworks and their breakdowns, but they never get any leads because people don't like or admire them. When the person does that, yes, they get a ton of followers and a ton of engagement because people love the value they're putting out, but people never buy from them because the info space has completely changed, right? The coaching, consulting, agency space, whatever you want to call it, it's changed. Trust is at an all-time low because 3-4 years ago, AI was not really as big as it is right now. And so people weren't really using it to create their content and so every single piece of content was authentic. But now, with everyone being able to access and use AI, people's trust has gone terribly low. Because I could go into any industry right now and tell AI to write me a free value post on that industry, and the post would probably be decent, right? So nowadays, information is everywhere, right? I can go and get information from a book, I can go get it from Google, I can go get it from ChatGPT, and that means that people don't actually differentiate themselves. So you need to differentiate yourself for who you are, not just your free value, right? And the way you do that is by being admirable. So moving straight into step one. In order to earn your audience's attention, you need to show that you're an admirable person that they can actually look up to. And so there's a process that I call your unique mechanisms, not the process that you take your clients through, but the reasons that people choose you, right? And so I try to find 3 to 5 unique mechanisms with each of my clients, and I show them that the combination of those 3 to 5 unique mechanisms is what makes you unrepeatable. Okay, so if we use me as an example, I'm 21 and make 45K a month. I've built 3 6-figure businesses. I live in the UK and I spend all of my time and money on my family and girlfriend, right? Those 3 things are very, very hard to copy, right? So any single trait alone of them can be copied. Like a lot of other people also spend a lot of their time and money with their family and girlfriend, right? But those 3 things together means it's very hard to copy me. So what I do with me and all of my clients is I find out what are those 3 to 5 unique mechanisms that make me different from everyone else that people can actually admire, okay? And most people skip this step entirely and then wonder why they never build that audience, okay? So then step 2 is all about being likable. This is what is actually gonna keep the people you just attracted around. In this type of content, you want to be giving off what I call real person energy, right? So it's not about just being charismatic, it's about being a real person. So the mistake that a lot of people make is they come from, say, a corporate background, for example, and so in all of their content, they're really polished, they're overly professional, and that just reads as cringed, and the audience can instantly feel misalignment, right? Instead, what you want to do is ask yourself, what do people like about me in real life? You know, what should I be showing in camera that people love about me when they talk to me down the pub, for example? Because being specific wins. Generic content is going to connect with no one. Whereas when you're specific and you show the struggles that you've got, you show who you actually are as a real person, you talk about your values, your beliefs, people are going to buy into you as a person, which instantly builds a ton of trust that any free value post could never do. So then step 3 is all about being credible. This is where you prove that you can deliver, right? So in this stage, you want to be showing your client results, the client outcomes, and proof that you're actually good at what you do. This is the stage that most people wrongly lead with, right? So without doing steps 1 and 2, this stage will not work properly. So the strongest credibility you can actually put out there is sharing things that people can't easily find elsewhere. So this is why I'm constantly investing into coaches, consultants, mentors. So far this month, I've already spent 6K on new mentors because I want to find information that no one else has got on LinkedIn. Right, and so I'm going into coaches and consultants in other industries, getting information, and I'm trying to be the first person to bring it to LinkedIn, right? Because when I'm the first person to bring certain information to the open, people are going to come to me to get that information, right? If you're good at this already, don't lead with it. You need to be doing steps 1 and 2 first, right? And then on to the last stage, which is step 4, which is all about being trustable. This is where the money is actually made if you've done steps 1, 2, and 3 correctly, right? And this is what I call the revenue stage. If you can crack this after you've already cracked being admirable, likable, and credible, you're going to stop worrying about signing clients. Simple as, right? This is when you get prospects reaching out and saying, hey, I'm ready. Just send me the payment link. I don't even need a sales call, right? That's what you're going to have the outcome of if you can do this correctly. The thing that may block you from being trustable is having a value-only brand, which is what a lot of you are going to fall into, right? If your content is nothing but tips and frameworks and step-by-steps, people are not going to trust you, right? Because pure value raises people's guard. It feels like a hovering salesperson. Imagine you walked into a car dealership and someone said, hey, do you want a coffee? Do you want a champagne? Like, where are you trying to go with this? And, you know, they stood next to you the whole time. You'd probably just within 5 minutes walk out of the dealership because you feel too pressured, right? That's the equivalent of only ever putting out value content. Whereas when you get people to like you and know who you are and like you for your values, your beliefs, and even your downfalls, for example, right? They begin to trust you, okay? And that creates a no pressure sales environment. So the fix to being admirable, likable, credible, and then trustable to actually convert the audience is having a multi-dimensional brand, right? It's showing your lifestyle, your passions, your transformation, you know, where you started, the struggles you had, etc., and where you are now, and your expertise and your journey, all shown together. So for example, I talk a lot about how I travel with my girlfriend. I talk a lot about how I love cars and watches. I talk about how I was stuck at 10K a month for over a year and then paid a mentor 10K and then scaled to 30K a month within 2 months. I also talk about my expertise, you know, my free value, my frameworks. alongside the lifestyle, the passions, etc. Okay. Now, the trust progression must be built in order for it to work. You need to start with being admirable, then likable, then credible, and then trustable. So as a summary, here's the complete framework. Step 1, measure the right metric, not just audience size, not just impressions, likes, comments, etc., but the actual percentage of your audience that is your ICP. Number 2, build both audiences. So target your dream follower in order to attract those qualified buyers, and then niche down by problem, pains, fears, desires by reverse engineering your ICP, and then build the trust with that audience in order to convert them. Okay, so as you can see, here's a summary step by step on what you guys need to do. And as a reminder, right, my client, Peter, was a fitness coach who had just 6,000 followers and he was earning over 120K a month. And in fact, he actually messaged me the other day. He's obviously gone off on his own now. He's absolutely smashing it. He done 270K in June 2026 just through LinkedIn with under 7,000 followers. That's not luck. That's a qualified audience that trusts the person behind the content. So to finish off this video, if you also want help building a qualified audience that generates inbound sales calls, you can click the link at the top of the description and you can book a call with either me or my team. We'll walk you through exactly how my process works and see if you are a good fit. So if you want to book a call with me and my team to see if we can help you, then click the link at the top. I hope you found this video super useful. I hope you enjoyed it, and make sure to subscribe for future content on how to do middle of funnel and bottom of funnel content to convert your audience.